Well, I'm glad. That's awesome. Well, good morning, everybody. We will get rolling. It's 11:01. I want to respect everybody's start and stop time. I know to pull you guys on this call away from your worlds 4 days and 2 hours is monumental. So I'll start by saying thank you. That's an awesome commitment to your craft and to your profession, and you should be applauded for that. So great job there. Today is the last day. I just turned my camera on so you can see my animation. Today is my last day, or our last day. So we are going to kind of finish up with the time management plan that we have for the new home world that I think you guys will really like. And then we will touch on to our goal setting session and kind of lay out the outline of it. And then I'm happy to follow up individually as companies and take you through that process and then kind of get things going. So we will muddle our way through all these discussions, which will be fantastic. So we're going to talk about today. We're going to start out by talking today about the perfect day. But before I do that, I want to kind of talk about the prerequisites it takes to be successful. And for me, I want to start with a video. Let me think about this. No, let me go in this direction. So, like when I talk to, and I have the blessing of talking to you guys all the time. You know, some of you over here on the West Coast, some of you are in Florida, some of you in Tennessee, and all of you all have different environments and different things going on. In fact, not only that, some of you all have different products. Some are primarily multifamily. Others are selling lots. Some are selling single family spec homes and so on and so forth. So it's a very different environment. And when I have these conversations and I ask people how things are going, it's really telling the response. You know, many are, we are so busy, so successful. I can't believe what's going on. And some are, until interest rates, it's a tough sled and it's tough going right now. And there's truth in both. There's truth in both. And for me, like we get these engagements, and we always start an engagement with like a kind of an introductory call. We call it kind of an introductory charrette, where we moderate it with a person that's interested in changing their results, a builder or developer, and we ask a number of questions. And the question that I've been asked before is why in the world does a group in California or a group in Oregon or a group in Florida call you, John, and your company in North Carolina? You're not there. You don't know the uniquenesses of our environment. You don't know what's going on. So how do you think you could impact our companies? And that's a very, very good question. Like, in other words, I could not be any value if a relocation agent called me from Wisconsin and said, I have a client that's moving from California to Wisconsin, and I want to hook them up with you to find them a home there. I provide very little value or no value in identifying the right neighborhoods to go in Wisconsin and the right homes that would fit those people's needs because they're going to be working at this particular location. I provide no value in that. So again, the question is a valid one. Why would somebody call your organization in North Carolina and why would they expect results? You don't even know what's going on over here. And so I get asked that daily. I get asked that all the time. And I've been interviewed on it. And finally, I got asked to write an article in a trade magazine. And I'm going to put it up on the screen. And this was the title of the article: The Value of Centralized Sales, Why It's Worth Hiring a Marketing Specialist. And everybody on this call, I have to say, is a specialist. The fact that you're even showing up for this call, you're already a one percenter compared to your peers. So congratulations on that. But why is it worth dealing with, if you're a builder or you're a developer asking this question, why is it worth hiring a marketing specialist? Number one, there are not many industries there are not many industries that have such a substantial risk signature that builders have and developers have. So much upfront spending, so much, not, so much a hungry financial need and budget. Like you're not talking about thousands. You're barely talking about 10,000. You're talking about hundreds of thousands to $1 million of risk. But yet so many builders don't push the button of hiring a specialist until very late in the process. And so, what is the value of hiring somebody that is a specialist? We already talked about the analogy in the medical world. If you got an ACL injury, you're not going to your family practitioner, you're going to an orthopedic surgeon. Same thing in our world. Okay. And so, in that article, one of the things that we saw ourselves replacing frequently, number one, the builder or the developer tried to handle it themselves. We already know that many builders are great at building, great at budget monitoring, great at purchasing, great at identifying land, not great at dealing with customers, or not great at putting a value in that final step, which is selling. So we've come in and we're replaced, someone's husband, someone's wife, someone's daughter, or someone's friend. Number two, a lot of builders and developers have tried to list with outside local brokerage companies. The easy answer right there is a brokerage firm or a brokerage company has many masters to serve. They have to serve each with the same fiduciary responsibility. And it's hard to be an expert at something when you have many masters to serve. That's common. That's a common sense response. And then lastly, the other organization, the other solution that we replace is when a developer says, I've got 3 builders out there, I'll leave the sales and marketing up to them individually. Well, one does it great and one doesn't do it at all. And so the results as a community just fall flat. And so we get asked to come in and kind of replace or improve all of these scenarios. And so what happens if I had to answer with one sentence? What happens if you install Red Earth or if you install a specialist? The single word answer is focus. Okay, is focus. Let me take you one more step further. A lot of environments that have that focus, the salesperson that's tasked with selling that product, that builder, that developer, the confines of their playing field are restricted. Okay? So I'll say it a couple different ways. If I am to survive financially, I can't go outside my perimeter of this neighborhood, of this builder. It's unbelievable what that does to my creative thinking, what that does to my urgency, what that does to my business planning. The focus is unbelievable when what you earn comes from inside your playing field versus I have this playing field that covers this town or this region, and that builder over there is one of my buckets. It's an unbelievable difference what happens with focus. Let me give you one more example. One more example. And this is a debate that's ongoing. And I'm 55 years old, and I am blessed that I get to talk to a lot of you guys on a daily basis. And many times, you all change my perspective on things. It doesn't happen a lot, and you better be on your A game because I'm pretty convicted. But this is a topic that I go round and around and around and around debating, and I have case studies of it working and not working. And this is what I mean. Pooling of commissions. So let's talk about what that does to your business planning, your creative thinking, your creative marketing, and your urgency in your air. If I am part of a team, and that team, if let's say there's 3 of us, and that team shares the successes, I can see some benefit to that. Okay. We can tag team, we can do things together, we can add value to the customer by sharing different parts that we're great at. I do see a value of that. However, I don't personally subscribe to that. Like I have never, over all the years I've done this, my wife and I have talked about budgets and finances and vacations and retirement plans. And all of us have been up against the wall like, man, I need to pay my mortgage by next month. I've never looked at my wife and she say, look, the mortgage is due like next week. What's our solution? I have never said these words. I have never said, well, my fingers are crossed. Like my teammate Susie, she's got a couple tours. I hope she makes a sale. Like I've never, and that's just me. I'm not suggesting it's a universal code, but I've never relied on anyone else's production to provide anything that I eat. Like I have always been like, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Like I have got to figure a solution out. The reason I say that is not to call anybody out or an organization out or saying you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong. It's just an unbelievable thing that happens to us when we eat what we kill. In other words, there are no grocery stores anymore. Like I literally have to figure a way to go out and survive on what I do that day. It's sobering, but it brings the best out of at least me because it does not allow the universe to provide anything for me. It makes me sit up in my seat every day and think about the activities that I need to do to create my return. Now, look, some of you on this call right now do have a shared environment, and that might be okay for you. However, I don't want any of you to ever be lulled in a quiet moment, in a good moment, in a bad moment, in a medium moment, to ever think that you can take your personal foot off the gas because you have teammates. I would rather you keep the foot down on the gas and use teammates as accelerant, but do not rely on them. That's the point here. So we're going to start by encouraging each of you to be empowered by the power of you. All of us have higher interest rates. All of us have to deal with a war in Ukraine. All of us have inflation. All of us do. However, all of us will have a different W-2 or a tax return at the end of the year because of us. Now look, there are honey holes in our business. There are honey holes where the builder gets these 50 lots and it is on like Donkey Kong good. I'm talking about a track record of an entire career. That's what I want you to have. I want you to have a profession. I don't want you to look at this assignment that you're in with this builder or this developer as a temporary thing or a thing that looks good right now. I want you to look at you as a business entity that stands the test of time no matter what. Like, wouldn't you agree that even in 2005, when it was unbelievably good, or during COVID, when PPP money was going out and interest rates were great and everything was really good, wouldn't you agree that even then there was a leaderboard in our industry? There were some doing this, there were some doing this, and there are still some doing this. When times are bad, or tough, I should say, there's still people here, still people here, still people here. It's because you're the difference maker. You're the catalyst for the good. Not the sticks, not the bricks, not the builder, not the location, not the interest rates, not the economic winds at your back or on your side or in your face. It's you. It's absolutely you can change your future. Now, the blessing on this, by being on this call, we are connected to each other. So you're part of a living organism that's bigger than just you. And on-site sales can be super lonely, like really lonely. We need to rely on each other to be change agents, to be learning agents, to be good. And that's what I want to empower you at. Like literally, you can change your family's life with this profession. I see it constantly. And I also see you can do it starting right now. Like you do not need interest rates to fall. Like, let's run through that fallacy for a minute. No one ever talks about this, but let's talk about it. We sit around and we talk to clients that say they're going to wait for something to occur interest rates is the easiest topic to talk about. Like, I'm going to wait for that magic number. Let's call it the low sixes. Let's call it 5, where the C's part and the buyers come back. We already know what's going to happen. We already know what's going to happen. It's going to be chaos. You builders will have no inventory out there. People are going to have to pay over ask, and most of your clients are going to get leftovers. Like, we already know what an interest rate movement will do because we saw it in COVID. When COVID happened, I've been doing this 30 years, almost 30 years. That was the first time in my life I had more buyers than product. That sucked in a way. I had more buyers than I ever had before that were ready, willing, and able. I didn't have homes to sell them. I had to put them on waiting lists or reservation lists. We got to wait for that next section to get platted. So we already know. So if any of our people are waiting for the perfect timing, we already know the outcome. None of us get to benefit. They don't either. So today is the day to make change. Okay, that's what this is about. All right, I'm going to start out with a video I've played 5 million times. It's 4 minutes and 40 seconds. It might seem like it's going to go on, but it's not going to go on for a long time. And I got to go to the right slide. Let's see where we're at. Let's see where we're at. 95, slide 95. Stand by. Pulling it up. It's my man, Tony Robbins. You guys have heard from him. Many of you probably have gone and seen him speak, whatever it might be. But I think this is a great way to start our session. And I'm going to stop it right about here, just at about the 4-minute mark. So let's just watch and listen to Tony Robbins real quick.
If you're going to have lasting change in anything, you're really talking about just raising your standards. I mean, I always tell people, if you want to know how to change your life, I give it to you in 3 words, boring as it sounds: raise your standards. And what does that mean? Corny as it sounds. Raise your standards. So thank you for the breakthrough thought, Tony. I'm glad I wasted my time watching this little email with you. But think about it.
Oh, sorry.
Lasting change is different than a goal. You don't always get your goals, but you always get your standards. Maybe it'll help you is to think about it this way. I try to explain standards to people with a different set of words. Think of it as everybody in life gets their musts. They don't get their shoulds. Right? Think about it. Most people have a list of shoulds, don't they? Don't you have a list of the shoulds, things you should do, you should follow through on? I should lose some weight. I should work out more. I should make more calls. I should respond more rapidly to my email, whatever. I should get into the office earlier. I should be, more confident. Whatever your should list is, people love to have their should list be met, but it's kind of like New Year's resolutions. If it does, it's really exciting, but if it doesn't, which is most of the time, it's a little disappointing, but you kind of know it's not going to happen. But when you decide something is a must for you, an absolute must, when you cut off any possible, you just say, I'm going to find the way, or I'm going to make the way. Human beings, when they resolve things, when they make a real resolution inside themselves, which is they raise the standard, they make it a must, they find the way. Think about it in your own life. How about you had some area of your life where you raise your standard and your life has never been the same? Maybe at one time in your life you smoked cigarettes. You did something and you did it for years and you kept trying to change it and kept telling yourself I should. And then one day something happened. Something just clicked you over. Something took you over that kind of tipping point. And inside yourself you said no more. It was a very, very different experience, wasn't it? Something inside of you shifted. And what was a should became a must, and you've never gone back. Is there an area like that in your life you can think of? Again, did you ever smoke cigarettes? Did you ever eat a certain way, drink a certain form of alcohol, and then finally say no more, and you just don't go back? And notice this, it doesn't really take any willpower anymore.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, quite honestly. Hold on, let me stop.
It becomes part of our identity. One thing I've learned in the last, 33 years of working with people from now over 100 countries, 4 million people, is human beings absolutely follow through on who they believe they are. If you said to me, well, I'm really going to work hard to stop smoking, but, I've been a smoker my whole life, and I am a smoker. I know your days are numbered. You're going to be back smoking cigarettes again, because we all act consistent with who we believe we are. I tell people the strongest force in the whole human personality is this need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. If you define yourself as somebody who is really conservative, You're not going to be crazy and act nuts unless you're really drunk or something. And then you can say it's the alcohol when it's really just you finally getting permission to be yourself. The alcohol is your excuse. If you're a really crazy person, you act crazy, outrageous, playful. You don't act conservative because that's not who you are. Very often people say, well, I can't do that. I'm not that kind of person. And I always say to people, really, when did you define yourself? I mean, really, how many years ago did you come up with what you could and couldn't do in your life? How many years ago? Most people, if they really look at how they're living their life today, it's based on a set of standards, a set of beliefs that they made choices about 10, 20, 30 or more years ago. I mean, very often we made decisions in our youth or very young about what to believe, about what we were capable of, about who we are as a person, and that becomes the glass ceiling, if you will, that controls us. There's a corny metaphor, but it's true. I remember one time I was with my family at the circus, and there was a person there, and they had this big giant elephant, and you look at this elephant, and they take this little rope, put it around the elephant's neck, and they drive the stake into the ground. And I mean, you look at this and you know that elephant could rip down the entire tent with almost no effort. And yet the elephant doesn't struggle, doesn't try. Why? Because the elephant's conditioned. And they take that elephant and condition the elephant when it's a baby elephant. That's how they train them. When it's a little baby elephant and it doesn't have the power yet, they put a big rope around it and they drive this huge stake in the ground, and the elephant fights and fights and fights. And one day, finally, that elephant decides, I'm not capable of pulling this out. And once that becomes the definition of an identity of anyone, an elephant in this case, they don't even try anymore. It's just who I am. That's how it is. That's just the way it is in my life. I'd like to ask you to take a look at any place you've got a limitation and ask yourself, when did I decide to accept that limitation? And you may not even see it as a limitation. You might see it as just that's who I am. But so often in our lives, we've adapted to be a certain way so that we don't fail or so that people will like us or respect us, but it's not necessarily who we are. Joy comes when you're spontaneous. It's really hard.
All right, we'll stop there. I think that is as appropriate of a video as I could have ever stumbled on and found. And hopefully you guys heard him almost like speaking to you, because it is one of those things, and I'm going to my next slide. I'm hopping around, sorry. Let's see, slide 95. Okay. And I think it's a perfect thing to get into our discussion of our time management plan. Now, our time management plan relies on standards that we're going to set. It relies on promises to ourselves. It relies on changing the way that we are going to act and perform to get a changed result. And I love the elephant analogy because it's time for everyone on this call. I know the products you all have. They're all really good in really good environments. I know you have the ability to rip that stake out of the ground and literally knock over that circus tent as an elephant. I know that you have the possibility. It will make you will be asked to do some things that you have not ever done before. So sometimes blind faith before you see the results. But more than not, it's a commitment. All right. I'm going to need a few of you to take your microphones off mute because I'm going to ask for a little involvement in this. We call our time management plan for an on-site agent, we call that, for lack of any other thing, the perfect day. The perfect day. The reason I came up with the perfect day is as a salesperson, I couldn't take the ups and downs anymore. I couldn't. Not only was it traumatic and troubling to financially plan my family's life with this, and then this, and then this, and this, but more importantly, it was burning me out. It was emotionally taxing. It was so hard to keep up with. So I said, there's got to be a better mindset. There's got to be a better way. And over time, we kind of created this thing that gave me peace. That's what this was about. You know, how many times have peers in our industry or friends in the industry said, I got to go get a job. I got to go get a real job. I can't deal with this. And they come and they go. And even though they had all the opportunity or all the potential in the world, they pushed the abort button too quick because they needed that income. And I get it. I get it. We all need that flat, relatively flat predictable income stream. So I said, I got to find another way to manage my day, to manage my week, manage my quarter, where I know those activities are leading to somewhere. If all I solved was my emotional side of the return on my investment, that's good enough. Okay. So I want to ask Christine, if you're there, maybe you could go first. Anybody that wants to kind of undo their microphone, Christine, if you don't mind, if you're still there, whomever is there, speak up. Can you please read just out loud for the group the first paragraph here?
Okay, I actually can't see it very well.
Uh-oh. Let me zoom in. How about that? Does that help?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
The perfect day system. In business, and especially within the real estate industry, the activities of today pay the dividends of tomorrow. In new home sales, especially in regards to pre-sale homes, this payoff can be out in the future as much as 5 months or longer. The ultimate goal of your sales company is to always have those dividends being paid consistently today, tomorrow, and next month. Nothing is more comforting than being in this business and having a pipeline of consistent closings to look forward to. The peace that comes from not having to ride one hot month followed by 2 cold ones is priceless and should be the focus of every day of your professional career.
Yeah, everybody on this call, you don't have to unmute your mic. Say amen. Like truly, what Christine just read, amen. Like that is the ultimate, and then you have a hot month, but it's not followed by a cold month. It's followed by a consistent month. For me, I have an Excel spreadsheet. I mean, if the Excel spreadsheet could talk, it would say, please have mercy on me. I have had this spreadsheet with me for years. It has formulas. I don't even know where they're pulling from. I mean, it is like duct taped together. But I can look at that Excel spreadsheet with all my business revenue and all the different silos, and I can instantly see my near future, midterm future, and long-term future of revenue. I can see it. And what happens to me by seeing that, I've had it for around so long, as I glance on it, I know what activities I need to ramp up or rely on. I know what the future holds because of what this spreadsheet is showing me. Now, I'm not talking about how I get things onto the spreadsheet, but that spreadsheet gives me the piece that I know next month's covered, the months after that's covered, and so on. That's what Christine just shared. So who's next? Give me anybody next that's following this. I want the second paragraph read. Come on, somebody step up, unmute, and rock it out.
Got you. The serenity that will come from operating a consistent business will only multiply your conversion effectiveness exponentially. You'll be more at ease, better prepared, and an overall happier person by striving to build a consistent producing business, not to mention the benefits of financial planning with a more symmetrical cash flow. How many times have our peers in the industry dropped out of the real estate profession so they could make more consistent money? It's the ultimate goal for all of us. While there will always be fluctuations in the market and even within our own business, the value of managing your business life by subscribing to the perfect day system is to smooth out the selling peaks and valleys, thereby creating a predictable and consistent showing and closing pattern.
Thank you. And Danny, I'll pick on you only because you just read that. Danny and her company have impressed me. Obviously, they've been places where people have influenced to do the things that lead to showings and sales. I mean, Danny's company, and I have never even done this, and I've never even asked people to do this. And when Danny told me that she does this, it blew my mind. We always talk about prospecting. We know what prospecting is. It's phone calls, it's going to events, it's all those things. Danny and her team will literally do door knocking. And I'm telling you what, in 2025, if you're doing door knocking, you're a professional, because that is not easy to do. But doesn't it lead to things? Danny and her team is not door knocking for her own fun. That's not what that's about. It's to lead to something. So whether somebody went to Mike Ferry, whether somebody went to the International Business Building Show, wherever, Danny, you picked up those things, those traits, I applaud you because that's what it takes. And it literally means that Danny is looking at this business as a business, not as just a, oh, I've got to go do these things. And so I take my hat off to you, and I'm glad that you said it. All right, this is our last paragraph. Who wants to step up and read this little tiny showing here? Tiny paragraph. Come on.
I'll do it.
Go.
The perfect day system essentially involves a number of core activities that must be performed and measured to produce consistent returns. The returns are not only the financial ones, though those are the most tangible, but the reward of increased market share, increased product and listing exposure, increased company and site branding, which leads to increased showings and previews. That in turn leads to increased sales.
Yes, yes. So we're going to create a plan that almost basically gives you the activities that need to happen. And truly, let's see, truly, we have to believe these activities in our core will make a difference. Okay. And so what I want, and I'll send this out to you guys. It's kind of a white paper that I wrote about these things, but essentially it takes advantage of multipliers and predictor activities, which we'll talk about. Okay. You always hear me talk about low-hanging fruit. Like, where do we start, John? Let's start with the low-hanging fruit. So you're going to hear about multipliers and predictor activities. Okay. And ultimately, this is what it involves. We're going to get into 2 hours of maintaining a pipeline, 2 hours of administrative maintenance, 2 hours of face-to-face engagements, 1 hour of fueling, which we'll talk about that, and 1 hour devoted to centering. So all this I'm going to add color to, but effectively it takes into account, quote, an 8-hour day. Okay. So that's the idea behind this. And I want to tell you a quick story. So multipliers and predictability. So, and somebody scream at me if I've already shared this story. Please, God, I do not want to, I do not like it when people do that to me. When I look at someone and says, you've already told me that story like 3 times, you're telling me again. So if I'm guilty of it, someone please raise their hand and say, you already told us. But I told you about that guy down the street, Jim Matoska. I remember I told you that story, that when I asked my clients, oh, great, I understand you want to go see the competition. I completely respect that. In fact, my wife and I would make that pack, and we would operate just like you. By the way, who are you meeting with over there? By that question, it told me whether I was going to get you or not, whether I was going to win or lose, because that was the GOAT, if you will, that I competed against. So as I competed against this guy named Jim, I started to get to know him. And that's where I learned about business planning and predictors and multipliers. Well, what he realized, he had been in that neighborhood for 5 or 6 or 7 years. So he had hundreds of property owners. He realized that the different sources of clients came with a different likelihood of them saying yes. In other words, he had different closing percentages based on where people came from. And what he said is walk-ins that never met him, never knew the area, never knew how he operated, him shaking their hand, going out on tour, had a much lower conversion than if one of his property owners called him and said, hey, I'm sending Barbara and Tom over. I worked with them for 15 years. They would love to explore St. James. Can you meet with them? He closed those people at a really high rate. We already know that. Property owner referrals or customer referrals are a better client than a cold person that walks in our model that just comes in. Well, this is where he leaned into it. Check this out. So I'm always competing with Jim. I'm always looking at his numbers. And he comes to me and brags to me one day at a restaurant. He says, next year, I'm no longer taking walk-ins. We call it taking ourselves off the line. I'm no longer taking walk-ins. I don't want new leads. And I'm like, huh? He's like, I'm literally this year, I'm just focusing on my property owner upgrades, my property owner reloads, and my property owner referrals. So I was like, I said under my breath, good luck with that. Like no new leads in the whole year. Like finally, I'm going to beat this guy. Like truly, I got him. Finally, he's getting tired. I'm not tired. I can take the new leads. I got this. Okay. Fast forward, goes through the whole year. He broke all kind of sales records. I'm like, damn, what? I'm over here spinning my wheel, taking leads, going to trade shows, working my property referrals. This dude took himself off the daily line. He didn't have to show up at the office. He did his own thing and he outsold everybody. It's because he identified how to work smarter than harder. He identified the true value of the high likelihood clients versus the cold ones. Now, look, I'm not suggesting that anybody should take themselves off the new lead line or new lead drip. We need those things. But what he proved to me that if he invested in his property owners and loved them and asked them and they delivered, those had a 3-to-1 likelihood of saying yes than spending time with 30 walk-ins. So he gave me the lesson of multipliers. He gave me the lesson of leaning into higher likelihood engagements than just following the sheep and following the original plan of doing, quote, uptime. He showed me the light and he did it very well. So one of the things you'll hear us talk about is identifying those high impact return clients and doing activities at a higher rate with them than spinning our wheels on those at the bottom. Or one thing that he ultimately ended up doing is investing in his own success and saying, I'm going to eventually now hire an administrative assistant to help me with those lower impact items that I know I need to do so I can concentrate on those others. So a little bit of a side story as to when I woke up that salesmanship matters, business planning matters, and identifying multipliers absolutely matters. So now let's get into our perfect day system. I got to go to a new slide. I got to find it. Again, I have way too many things opened up. What number I'm going to? It's 2066. Stand by. Here we go. All right. Pull it over here. Okay. Time to execute the plan, the perfect day. Couple of the laws around it. Number one, it involves 5 core areas of responsibility. We'll talk about that. Requires a belief that each is non-negotiable. Man, please, everybody say that out loud. It's almost like I need you to join a cult with me right now. I literally need you to join a cult. I need you to believe some things that the cult leader up on stage is saying just in the moment. I need you to say, okay, the UFO is going to pick us up. All right, I will drink the Kool-Aid. I need you to be in a cult for a moment. I need you to believe that each of these 5 core areas are non-negotiable. Okay? Case in point. We talk about the highs, the ups and downs. Okay? Many times the trough, the lows, don't come from anything that you did other than success. Like how many times have you had a month where you literally did 5 contracts or 6 contracts? Like it may have been one of the best months of your life. It wasn't that you went on vacation. It wasn't that you sloughed off and didn't do the things you knew you needed to do. You were rocking. What happens to the month after that? There's a price to pay because you were so busy doing the good and putting ink to paper and meeting with clients and writing them up and going to the closings that you neglected some of those other 5 core areas, which might have been prospecting or filling the pipeline of your next month's tours, that there's a price to pay. So the belief that each is non-negotiable, even if you're breaking records, you have to have this insatiable, fanatical pursuit like, I can't just do this record-setting selling. I can't neglect my prospecting because I know the activities today have an effect on the success of tomorrow. I'm screwed tomorrow because of my success today. So I'm trying to avoid this even when I'm breaking records. Because what I don't want is a record-breaking February and a devastating March. I don't want to live like that. I just don't want to. So if I neglect, even because of success, some of the 5 core areas, there's a price to pay that I gotta recognize. Number 3 draws a sense of peace from predictor activities. What does that mean? Okay, if I already know how many calls it takes to book one tour and how many tours it takes because I've been measuring this for the last 3 years, I already know what activities are going to lead to. So it gives me peace through those predictor activities. Number 4, attempts to create a consistent business model. We talked about that, and takes advantage of multipliers. We talked about that. So let's get into it. Let's get into the first pie. 2 hours of prospecting for the future a day. So in a 8-hour work day, if that's what we did, 2 hours of my pie, of my chart, of my day should be dedicated to prospecting. I don't care if you take 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes and divide it up, an hour in the morning and an hour at the end. It doesn't matter. However, if I don't do that future prospecting, I know there's a price to pay. So even if I have 3 tours that day and I can't get to prospecting, what does my next day need to have? 4 hours of prospecting. I can't escape it. If I don't prospect that next day because of my day off, what happens that 3rd day? I now owe 6 hours of prospecting. That's how I have to think, like to my cult religious core, because it's the truth. Like, it's the inescapable truth. If I had a successful busy day, then I had a day off, there's a price that I have to pay on that 3rd day. We have to believe that. We have to believe that, or our results will not come. So let's talk about prospecting for a little bit, okay? What are our 3 goals of prospecting? And what is prospecting? Prospecting is getting my name out to industry associates. It's reaching back into my digital database to extract them out of anonymity, to try to get them engaged with me. So prospecting is all of that. So what are our goals? First goal of prospecting is very simply to book a visit. I am not prospecting with the goal of selling a house. I'm prospecting with the goal of booking an engagement, a face-to-face meeting. For some of you, it might mean a buyer agent I'm prospecting to says, yeah, bring that coffee card by. Or, yeah, I'll meet you for coffee. Or, okay, I'll meet you at the model home. Prospecting to a customer might mean booking a visit. And remember, I'm a disruptor in the new home sales world. No one ever uses the word tours, booking a tour. Well, I do. Let's call it a showing, call it whatever you want, call it an appointment. But you already know by now, my showing is built very differently than what most people think a showing is. My showing is getting you in the car to show you the park. My showing is doing the optimal order of property. My showing is doing the 6 steps of closing. So to me, I use the word tour because I am showing you the totality of our offering, not just that unit over there, not just that thing over there. I book a visit or a tour. But that's the goal of prospecting. To not try to sell somebody over the phone. I just want you to come out and see me and see the place. That's our first goal. Short of that, what's next? Progress a lead status. I say it all the time. I can't, here's a great example. Let's say I have a team and Tom has a database that has 500 people in it. Let's say Tom leaves. And I give that database that Tom had to Susie. So Susie, here are 500 leads, okay? Susie goes through, looks at them. There's 20 A's, rankings. There's 20 A's, there's 300 B's, and 150 C's and D's, okay? So she looks at that, and she said, oh, I'm going to go after these 20 A's. These B's seem really good, and I'll just kind of e-blast those C's and D's. And I say to Susie, no. Number 1, don't take Tom's word for it. And number two, most importantly, because somebody that was communicated with 120 days ago said, stop calling or don't call, I can't talk to you right now, I'm not looking to buy a house, that doesn't mean something in their life hasn't changed in the last 120 days. Look, it happens to all of us. Personally, I've had a divorce. I have 4 kids. Like, my life on a graph has gone all over the place. I got remarried. Like, had you called me 5 years ago, that was my life then. Had you called me today, that's my life today. So for me to engage with somebody and update where your life is, that's a win in prospecting. Like progressing a lead status, updating their life, updating what's going on with them, even if they don't engage with me on a tour, or even if they don't buy anything, the database is our most valuable asset. Any sales organization, there's a lot of money in that database. There's a lot of money in that garden. So anytime I get a chance to update somebody's lead status is a win. And that means if they tell me they bought somewhere and hate me and hate the state I live in, that's a win because I can update the database. So that's the second goal. Number one, I hope to book a visit. I can't do that. Number two, at least I can engage with somebody and update their lead status in the system. That's a win. Lastly, none of us is probably thinking about this, but this is the third of 3 goals of prospecting, and we got to get great at this, guys. Get a referral and grow the database. We all want more leads, but none of us contribute to more leads. We all want the developer or the builder to do those ads or do that magazine or do that billboard or get those signs up or do those meta leads, but none of us participate by simply asking the people we already have, is there someone in your life that you would like me to send a brochure to? That's a simple question. You'll ask it 10 times, you might get 1 name. It cost us damn near $15, $12 to get 1 name from Meta. So why wouldn't you ask your people you've already got, is there someone you want me to send our Inspired Living book to? Hey, we got this brand new floor plan book. We just put a new plan in it. In fact, I'll send it to you. I don't even think I've sent it to you yet, Bob. But also, is there anyone in your office, any of your family members you would also like me to send it to as well? Okay? Are you going to get an answer 100%? Of course not. I mean, prospecting is kissing a lot of frogs to meet a prince. So is asking for a referral. One of my top agents that I have, I've said this story 1,000,000 times, on her phone taped, like a note with tape over it so it wouldn't wear out, says, ask her for a referral 100% of the time. So every time she grabs that phone to pick it up, that thing is staring at her. And didn't I already tell you about multipliers? Aren't referrals from a source you already have way higher likely to engage with you than someone cold? So let's do our part. Our goals are book a visit. Short of that, progress a lead status with good, complete notes. Short of that, or in addition to that, ask 100% of the time for anybody that they know that we can send information to. Good? Like that? Obvious? Common sense? A thing that Trump's been using a lot, which I laugh at and I like a lot. Common sense. Common sense. Bringing common sense back. Well, isn't asking for a referral common sense? We should be doing it 100% of the time. We should do it everywhere in our life. Okay? Prospecting undisputable laws. We all want to make more sales this year. We all want to do better. We want to reach our goals and maybe even exceed our goals. Truly, there's only way for us to do that in this industry. Increase our proficiency, i.e. our closing percentage, do better at presenting, do better at extracting yes out of people, and or increase the number of engagements. That's the only 2 things we can do. We like to think that we can make more sales in other ways, like a silver bullet. There's no such thing. Like maybe if I move to this site, I'll make more money. Okay, sometimes the grass is greener theory works, but that's not a repeatable format. Every year, if I found my happy place, if I found my builder that I love to be with, if I'm in a neighborhood that has multi-years of inventory out in front of me, every year I'm going to ask this question, how can I make more sales? So short of leaving and going somewhere else, the only thing that I can do is increase my proficiency and increase my engagements. So that's what we have to remind ourselves where we're at. And we also want to go into it understanding our customer's perspective. I love that word perspective. Like they engage with us in a lot of different ways and from a lot of different perspectives. Like I used to use a highway analogy. Sometimes they're going highway speed and they get off on an exit ramp really quick. Other times they're driving around very slow and they come into our model home. It doesn't matter where they enter. Our job, no matter where they enter from a prospecting standpoint, is take somebody curious, try to get them interested. Take somebody that's interested, try to get them to engage with us. If they engage with us, give them an experience besides sticks, bricks, and stats. Pull emotion out to get them to execute. Now let's talk about that word engagement. I want to get in a mindset of celebrating engagements as simple as this. Obviously, engagement, the first thought means meeting somebody on site. I want to celebrate if someone just emails us back. I want to celebrate if someone answers the phone. I want to celebrate if I send a text out that they answer that. That's engagement. That's wins. That is wins in our favor. So I want you to pay attention to winning engagements. How can I get more people to answer the phone? How can I get more people to write me back on an email? That's a win. And I want us to think about that. Then, when we start winning there, how can I get more people on site? Who knows what this movie is? Glengarry Glen Ross. If you haven't seen it, if you're in this business, it's a good one. It's a star-studded cast. It's old. It's probably 1980s. And it's about a land selling company with a bunch of salespeople. And Alec Baldwin is the highfalutin sales manager that comes into town to shake things up with the sales team. And this steak knife is an award he's giving out. I think the sales contest was like first place a new car or new Rolex, second place a set of steak knives, third place, everybody remember the quote, third place you're fired. That's the way he was a manager. And it all came up with one of the guys, I forget his name, super famous actor, you guys probably know. They're talking about the leads. And the salesperson, again, super famous, I can see him, not Paul Newman. Maybe it was Paul Newman. I don't know. He says, these leads are crap. And he throws the book of leads at Alec Baldwin. He goes, these leads are crap. Okay. I want everybody to remember a lead is just a lead. Like I'm in the business of generating leads. This is all we do. I have an entire office doing lead generation. There is no such thing as gold leads. There are no such thing as generating leads that are full of buyers. So the first thing we have to understand, and I go back to this chart. Oh, I go back to this chart. Good Lord, I got too many screens going. I go back to this, and I got to remind myself, some of my leads are just pure curious. Some are interested, some are further down on the line, but a lead is just a name. A lead is nothing until I get involved. A lead is nothing until I get involved. There are no leads that will come in and will answer your phone and say, so glad you called me, I'm looking to buy. That doesn't exist. Leads have to be nurtured. They have to be educated. They have to be persuaded. So when I start my engagement, I have to remind myself, It is merely just a name, email, phone number if I'm lucky. That's it. The rest, the value enhancing, is completely up to you. Now, I also remind myself, I don't judge a lead on one conversation. I judge a lead on my nurturing of these people. And I remind myself their lives change overnight. People get promotions. People get federal buyouts. I was on a call this morning. I had our weekly call with our Pennsylvania. Their primary feeder market in this community is Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia. What's going on right now? Federal workers are being asked to come back to work, and federal workers are giving an option to get a buyout to do early retirement. So a lot of those people just found out that maybe they're not 3 years away. They can take this buyout and go start living their next chapter of their life. Well, doesn't this line right here on the screen talk about that? People's lives change overnight for a lot of reasons. So maybe I called somebody that was 5 years away from retirement, and I had a conversation with them last summer, and they said, we're not doing anything, John, for 5 years because I can't leave until I'm retired. Well, now we got a buyout. They're taking the buyout. That person's life changed overnight. So every time I call somebody or engage with somebody, we've got to look as if something's changed in their life. Don't forget, they're not going to answer the phone. In 2025, with spam calls and robocalls and all this stuff, their natural defense mechanisms are up. I'm okay with that. I don't take it personal. That's great. Until you know me, until you know I'm a normal person, a good person, until you know I'm not one of these cheesy salespeople, until you know that I'm honest and sincere, you're going to have your defense mechanisms up. We filmed a funny video, a satire video one time of a couple driving into a model home park, getting ready to walk into the park. And we call it the pact, P-A-C-T, the pact. Husband looks to the wife. Hey, look, I'll do all the talking. Don't tell them we've already sold our house. Let's not really tell them that we've got the equity that we pulled out of your mom's estate. Let's just go in there and do our thing. In fact, their defense mechanisms are so up, they're getting ready to engage with the salesperson. They just made a pact to not even tell us the truth or to lie to us because they don't want to engage with us. That's the pact. I don't take it personal. I know that's the playing field I'm dealing with. And until you get to know me, that's the way it's going to be. And that's okay, because I'm going to keep that party rolling and I'm not going to take it personal. I've got a solution for you people with your arms crossed and your pact to not share information with it. I got a solution for you. I don't take it personal. Keep going. You're the difference maker in those people's lives. I mean, would we all agree we've bought things, whether it's clothing, shoes, cars, we've made a purchasing decision because we just like that person versus that person. Or that person didn't call me back. I'm not doing business with them. I'm buying from that person. And I'm not suggesting that your house is the same as your competitors, but people do business with who they enjoy being with. A, we better believe that. And then two, people's decisions to purchase, decisions to take that step to the next chapter of their life are mostly influenced by you, not by them coming to the conclusion. Powerful. And also believe that your company's process works. So whatever your process is, whatever your prospecting solutions are, or your tour route is, or your sales philosophies are, you better agree to believe in them, because if you don't, it's going to permeate out of your skin, your words, your actions, your body. If you don't believe in your leadership, if you don't believe in your product, and you don't believe in your process, and you've tried to buy in, change. Go somewhere else. Do yourself a favor. But if there is signs of professionalism and hope, lean into it. It's like that cult. Get that tattoo on your arm. Drink that Kool-Aid. Believe your processes work. That doesn't mean your processes can't change. Like you can raise your hand and say, look, I know we've been talking about this, the impact station of going to that park. We've kind of all agreed that's a very important part. Here's the problem. The park's in disarray. The wrong kind of people are showing up. I think we should change that. All right, great. Let's make that change. Doesn't mean processes can't change, but whatever you're going to do, you got to believe in it. Okay. And you got to believe that it's going to work. Why do people need us? We've talked about that. I believe we can change people's lives, but we sure do need them more than they need us. Okay. So let's talk about our customers. First of all, our system relies on analytics. We need them in mass. Remember, I said a million times, got to kiss a lot of frogs and meet a prince. Well, we better go find a lot of frogs. Like we need them in mass. If we have the mindset that I don't want to deal with the masses, I only want to deal with the gold leads, we're DOA. We have to believe we got to talk to them all. We rely on all of them. We also rely on analytics. We rely on analyzing past results. So you better start tracking every freaking thing we do. That's the only way to make adjustments, is to come up with baselines. That's why in an airplane cockpit, on the gauges, in your car dashboard, you've probably never even noticed this. I'm a pilot, so I notice this, but you've probably never even noticed this. Your car, doesn't even matter the manufacturer, it might have oil temperature, oil pressure, coolant. I don't know. But if you look at it, the oil pressure has some numbers that don't mean anything to you. But within those numbers, it has a green line and a red line. We know what that means. We know if that needle is anywhere in that green line, we're where we should be. But if that needle goes into the red line, an alarm's going to go off, something's wrong with the engine. All of you in your businesses should have the same thing. You should know what leads per month are needed. You should know how many times I have to have a showing to get a sale to generate my business plan. If you don't, you're winging it. You're going like this into the wind. You're putting your finger in the wind and saying, oh, wind's over here today. That's not comforting. So analytics, we rely on, okay? I'm going to push pause here to halftime, 5 minutes. For me, on my time zone is 12:04. We will start back at 12:09. So wherever you are, 09 we'll get started, and we'll try to get this thing finished on time. So everybody can take a break right now. All right, almost time. Everybody start, come on back. All right, almost there. Let's see. Got everything turned on. All right, let's roll. Everybody, we're at the finish line. So thank you so much for being part of this. I mean, I really appreciate it that you guys have stuck in there. So, all right, I'm going to give you an example. I want to watch a very short video, 2 minutes. My favorite sportscaster, I love him, Colin Cowherd. If you guys follow sports, some of you on the phone, maybe you do. This guy's one of my favorite. I think he's really smart and got good perspective. I want him to talk about a topic, analytics.
Remember Dirk Cutter earlier this year? He's the guy that hates analytics.
Not to get pissed off, but that whole thing about looking at a piece of paper and having that tell you how to call a football game is a freaking joke, in my opinion. I mean, that's why I watch tape.
No. Oh, he's hunch guy. Not analytics guy. Dirk Cutter is hunch guy.
I trust my eyes. Okay, I trust my eyes. I watch the tape. Trust me, I watch a lot of tape, and I trust what my eyes tell me. So I don't need a freaking piece of paper with a bunch of numbers on there to tell me something that my eyes can see.
Those crazy bunch of numbers. They are just zany. Never trust those zany numbers. I got eyes here. I'm hunch guy. Here's my thing with you guys that are anti-analytics. You sound dumb. Let me ask you this. Do you know what analytics are? I looked up this morning the word analytics. Analytics are, quote, the management of structured historical data and then the application of that predictive analytic model and utilizing that data and the use of those information systems to inform decision makers and enable them to help their organizations gain a competitive advantage on the field of play. Sounds like it would work, right? That sounds like that's what analytics are. It sounds like they would work. The opposite of analytics is going with your gut or hunch. I looked up hunch this morning, quote, a feeling or guess based on intuition rather than known facts. Does that sound like something you'd want to rely on? If you had a stockbroker.
All right, we'll stop right there, guys. I mean, our entire industry, for the most part, operates on hunches. They don't track results. They don't track things. If I ask 90% of the people 4 or 5 questions about your daily business, you could probably answer them relatively quickly, but you couldn't back them up. Something as simple as, what day do you get the most traffic? You could probably say, well, it feels like maybe Thursdays and Saturdays for sure. But if we looked at the metrics, you might be surprised that Friday was the day. If you don't track it, you don't know. Case in point, I have a number of organizations we've been involved with for many, many years. Okay, many years. Some touching 10 years. So we have the data that provides some idea, not surety, but some idea of the results. Let's look at this. If we generated some of these organizations 400 leads and we touched them, we know, at least 6 times, that's going to equal 2,400 touches. Okay, that's going to equal 80 tours. That's going to equal, at a 15% close percentage, 12 sales. So I know, because of a baseline of examining things, that if we can generate 400 leads, touch them 6 times, that's 2,400 touches, emails, texts, phone calls, whatever. To generate 80 tours, I'm going to make 12 sales. Like, you could almost do a spreadsheet pro forma based on that. Now, will some people outperform that? Of course. Will some people underperform that? Of course. But at least I have a starting point. Let me tell you where this manifests itself. I mean, a budget. Like, do I want to invest $1,000 a month in new lead gen, Or what if we dialed it up to $5,000 a month in lead gen? Well, let's look at the numbers. Is it possible to touch them, X number 6 times 5,000? No, we're going to need to hire more salespeople. Like, all these things have to have some numbers behind them. The second thing is perspective. So I did a speaking session to a home builder up in the DC area. And some of them were outside the quarter, sometimes they're inside the quarter. So some of the rub that they were telling me they had with their organization is everybody wanted the honey holes, nobody wanted the secondary locations. And so I said, well, let's think about this. And before we go into your offering, let's start talking about our customers. So if and when the phone rang, or if and when someone answered an ad, or if and when somebody walked in the door, let's for a minute put ourselves in their shoes, what they're going through, okay? And it kind of always reminds me to change my words and change my strategies when I take that minute before engagement of thinking what their life must be. Too many times it's like, oh, I got to remember to say this, I got to remember to say that, I got to remember to tell them about the park, I got to remember to tell them about the basement, the technology, whatever it is, where we don't remember to think about where they're entering our world from. Now, what comes to mind in DC? Obviously there's traffic, high taxes, the losing Redskins. I mean, these are the things that are on people's minds. These are the things that people are trying to solve. I mean, you look at that Google map thing in the background. I mean, I live in a small town in Wilmington, North Carolina. I think we have 250,000 people. I don't have red on my Google Maps. Okay. I just don't. I don't have rush hour. I live 1.2 miles from my home. Over my shoulder, 300 yards is my boat. That's my entire life. So it would be easy for me to forget what these people's lives are like. Look at this Google Maps chart. I didn't put those red lines in there. That's what they deal with. They deal with these maps and this traffic just taking their kids to piano practice. I can work with that. I can work with that. I can leverage what they're living in. Gone to Texas. Someone also said that means gone to tax. I don't know. But that's one of the highest taxed environments out there. So now I'm dealing with a secondary location in Virginia. I'm going to leverage this DC corridor, this Maryland corridor. I'm going to leverage that. So always understanding where they're coming from, what they're trying to solve will help you craft whatever your message of the moment is. Okay. And our message of the moment is something very important. So any prospecting that you do should have a point. It should not have, I'm following up with you. Should not have the words, I'm checking in with you. It should not have, you called us, I'm seeing if you've, progressed your home search. No, it should have, I'm so glad you've engaged with me. I'm so glad you answered my email. We just got this thing, or we just got that thing, or we just have a new discovery package. Whatever it is, new model home, new incentive, it has to be good. Same thing. If I am making a phone call outbound, did I take 30 seconds or 2 minutes to kind of write down what I'm going to try to accomplish if someone answers the phone? One more step. Did I take a minute to write down if I get someone's voicemail? Like, do I have something concise? The one thing I know about sales, and we've said it a number of times, there's 100 ways to say the same thing. But I do know something about communication and sales. Less words is better than more words. Less adjectives are better than more. Adjectives are important, but when we ramble and we don't have a point, we lose the meat of the intent. So by scripting out my prospecting message for that day or for that week, taking 2 minutes just to kind of focus a little bit of what my points are, we will be highly more effective in our conversions than if I just get on the phone really quickly and kind of leave different messages or different communication points each time. So that's the point there. And those are some of the ideas that we've talked about. Recent success. I want to tell you about the 5. I wanted to update your inventory. The last time you were here, you took home that price sheet. 5 have recently sold. I want to let you know what we've added and what's changed since the last time we talked. Inventory and floor plan books are great engagement proposals. People will call you back. If you have a new widget, it could be a new brochure, it could be a new Matterport tour, it could be a new listing, it could be a new plan. All of those are fantastic to get somebody to engage back with you. And what you're trying to do, obviously, guys, is not answer their question and just send it to you, but also, sorry, thank you for saying that. Here's my screen. I'm sorry you haven't been able to see it. It doesn't matter. It hasn't been critical, and you'll get it anyway. But thank you for sending me that text. All right, let's talk about outreach. Oh, this is a good one, guys. This is a good one. When I ask Tom, tell me a little bit about how you've kind of nurtured your database, what your prospecting schedule looks like. Now, can you all see my screen now? I think you can now. Okay, sorry for that lapse. Not all outreach is created equal. And too many people answer me with, what's your plan out there? Well, I did 3 e-blasts and I left a few messages. Okay, well, that's good, but that's not equal value. Let's talk about what value means. In a lot of our organizations, again, first, what's the urgency message? Is it scripted? And do you have database organizational mastery? Then let's agree, not all outreach is equal. Here's what I mean by that. Look at all these ways we can touch people. We can meet them face to face. We can have a unique phone conversation. All the way down to the bottom, we can communicate with them via a social media or corporate e-blasts. You guys still can't see the screen? Somebody unmute and tell me what you're seeing.
I can see it.
Okay, thank you.
Not all outreach is valued equal.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, good deal. All right, I got a text and it said you can't see it, so I was just making sure. All right, this is a reminder, and there's point totals over there. So in the past, we even did sales contests. So sales managers out there, have fun with this. Like, get a little logbook or a chart, and at the end of the week, let's see where the points totaled. So that person that thinks because they did 5 social media posts and they did 1 e-blast, that they crossed off their prospecting checklist, I did what I'm supposed to do. They did provide some value, but it's not nearly like the people like what Danny, you did in door knocking and the phone calling. I mean, that's unbelievably good contact. So we have a point system. Look, a unique phone conversation is better than a voicemail. A unique email exchange that I can put in some line of uniqueness of that person is way better than a spam-filled corporate e-blast. We have to understand that. And I know you guys do. I'm looking at the screen right now. I got True Professionals on there. However, I deal with people that hide behind blasts, hide behind social media, even hide behind, social media videoed walk tours, walkthroughs. Those are great, but they don't trump the highest point value of individual conversations. So that's all this chart is trying to remind us. And then have a plan. I gave a speech one time about having a plan with your database. And then I got somebody sent me this out of the blue. And this person literally set a chart of how they were going to set up their callback reminders in their CRM. I did not set this up. One of our salespeople did. And I was like, God bless you. I mean, if you follow this, you are a rock star. She's like, of course I follow this. I was like, dang. So she created this organizational mastery with her database where rankings meant something. Like, she defined them. She literally defined them. So an A ranking or a B ranking or a C ranking had substance in her database. Then within her database, she put her follow-up program of what she was going to commit to. Again, I didn't come up with this, and I never even utilized something like this so next level when I was a salesperson. I'm suggesting have a plan for your nurture campaign that you can commit to. It doesn't have to be this complex, but it has to be what you're committing to reaching to these people. The other thing is remind ourselves when we talked about people's lives change all the time, a B can turn to an A or it can turn to a D. So progressing a lead status means also updating their notes, but also changing their lead ranking. That's all good. I don't want a C to be a C forever. I want a C to maybe trickle to a B. And then a B might fall back to a D, all based on what's going on in their life and my communication. So get that database in order. One side story about a database. We were working with a Florida developer, a massive project, a 15-year project. I want to say at the time we had literally 10 to 12 salespeople. So you can only imagine the organization that was going into that one project. We had a massive organization. We had a top dog. We had a number one salesperson. I mean, number two wasn't even close. She was an ace. The problem was she was a cancer in the culture. Like she would eat other people. She didn't follow the program. And the sales manager at the time and myself, who was governing that property, we finally kind of had enough. But for both of us, and there's two lessons in this, both of us were worried like she was worth dealing with the culture mashup because she was so effective of getting sales. But then one day we said, look, the boat will rise if we cut her kind of divisiveness up. And we made the decision to fire the number one salesperson. It was a hard decision to make. Firing anybody is not an easy decision, but she was the one that was by far number one, but she was upsetting the other 9 sales team members. So we made that decision to pull that plug. And long story short, everything lifted around her. The environment was so great. So for any of you ever considering or being apprehensive about making a move with a top dog because it's hurting the rest, I can tell you the case study, it worked out. But this is where the story goes with our database. When she left, it was not good. Attorneys got involved, both sides, this, that, and the other. Then it comes to find out she stole the database. And so we had counsel, and our counsel was like, well, tell me about this database, what it's like. And we told them how many years it took to build it. We told the counsel, the actual cost, this, that, and the other. And he kind of pushed back, the lawyer pushed back from the chair and said, basically, out of all that you have from machines out on site, earth movers, your entry statement, the landscaping, potentially, she stole probably one of the most valuable things the developer and the builder owns, which is your database. Hundreds, maybe millions of dollars went into that database. It wasn't just a spreadsheet. She stole millions of dollars. So I think we sued her for some funny number, like $50 million, and ended up settling. It doesn't even matter. My point in all that story is I want everybody to look at your database, whether it's a index card system in a box or the highest end CRM that you own. I wanted you to look at that CRM or that database or those names as probably the most valuable asset you have as a sales organization. Because if you do look at it that way, you will tend to your garden. It will not have weeds and vines growing out. I always do business planning, and I don't think we'll have time to do it today, but we'll do it individually. But I always do business planning, and so many times business planning is for customers that we have not yet met. I'm going to get this many walk-ins. I'm going to get this many broker referrals. I'm going to get this many clients that I meet at an HBA event. But we neglect to say that probably 50% of my this year's success is already sitting in that database right now. It's already there. Like if we have a database that has organizational structure to it, has been being added to over time, over months, over years, your this year's sales, over half of them are already in your database. Like, think about that for a minute. So the database, if it's something that we're not paying attention to as an organization, and all of us are guilty with it, I am, you are, all of us, I want you to reframe your mind around that being the most important asset you've got. And I want you to culture it, and I want you to take care of it and manicure it and be such a great steward of it, because at least half your business this year is coming from names already sitting in that database. That's shocking. It's also empowering, because if 100% of my business came from people I haven't met yet, that's scary. In fact, I'd argue that potentially it could be 75-25. Like, even right down to buyer agent relationships should come from people that immediately know you already, not people you've never heard of in the industry. Okay. Work with what you've already got and lean into that. That's the point of this. The other thing about our database and prospecting is there are 3 unique audiences that we've got to consider, and we've got to communicate 3 different ways. We don't talk to brokers or communicate with brokers the same way with customers. So if I go to an organization, I say, let me see your nurture campaigns, let me see your e-blasts, and there's one e-blast that goes to everybody in the database, that's wrong. Customers have one push and urgency point. Brokers have another. Your property owner group, the people that said yes to you, that we want to foster for reloads or downsizing in the future, or getting their listings or getting their referrals, they should be communicated differently also. So I want you to look at all of this. I want you to look at customers, brokers, and owners and ask the question from a creative marketing and from a prospecting standpoint, what nuances or what differences or how can I communicate to them differently? For example, with the NAR settlement, buyer agents are walking around in a weird, confused world. Sometimes they engage with you not knowing who's going to compensate them. I hear it all the time still today. So if your builder or developer has decided to set a compensation schedule that still compensates buyer agent, even though NAR said you don't have to, but if you've made the business decision, say, we're going to continue to pay 2.5%, we're going to continue to pay 3%. Don't you think we should be screaming that from the rafters and communicating independently to the brokerage world differently than the customer world? Okay, that's a prime example. That's a prime example. So I want all of you corporately to challenge yourself to communicate with them differently, and individually to communicate with them differently. I also want you to remind yourself to check back in with this 3 bubbled chart thing and ask yourself, have I neglected any of these 3 this week or this month? Brokers deserve your love like customers deserve your love. My owners deserve your love like customers deserve your love. And each of them will pay dividends. Okay? Lastly, you see this picture and you see this headline, and it's dramatic. Prospecting like your future depended on it. Wake up every day and I want you to say, oh my gosh, where is my next tour? I don't want you to wake up and say, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay my bills? Oh my gosh, when's my next closing? It's not until next month. I want you to wake up and say, oh my gosh, my pipeline is pretty light. Oh my gosh, I don't have a tour today or tomorrow. I got to figure it out. I want you to prospect like your future actually depends on it. Now, we can look at this farmer right here throwing seeds out in the garden or in the field. And part of the reason that this thing is like black and white because it's old times. I want you to look at prospecting like an industrial farmer. I want you to look at prospecting like, how can I not just get one field mowed today? I want to mow this entire field. I want to be an industrial farmer. How can I do that? Time management, maybe using AI, maybe using some third-party software that I subscribe to, maybe eliciting a $20 an hour assistant. I want you to look at prospecting like your life depended on it and like an industrial farmer. The rest will take care of itself. Yes, you got to be good at presenting. Yes, you got to know how to do new versus used. Yes, yes, yes. But if all you did was this, the rest will take care of itself. Like I play golf. This is the best analogy. Everybody loves to drive the ball 275 yards, 300 yards. But the reality is when I play golf against a senior, I play not against or with, I play golf with a 70-year-old. And I hit the ball 270, and this guy drives the ball 200. Most likely, he beats me on the final scorecard every time. Why? Because the drive for show, 3/4 of my drives are in the fairway, 1/4 of my drives hit houses and trees and miss the fairway. Whereas this dude that's 70 hits it short, but he hits it down the middle every time. Down the middle, boring golf, down the middle. Down. Oh my gosh, you just got a 78? I just got a 90, right? It's not fun. Putting is not fun. Putting is where the pros make millions. Prospecting is not fun. Prospecting is where you will make your goals. You will make your money. So drive for show, that's great. Putt for dough. Sales for show, book for dough. That's what this is about. A prospecting mindset. I can't sell anything to an empty seat. I got to have everyone in front of me. Okay? That's what this is about. I'm going to send you guys this logbook. I would love for everyone to participate and just, you don't have to turn it into anybody. Just do this. I'm going to zoom in on this real quick. Logbook very simply has, here's my green bubble for one of my 5, 2 hours of prospecting a day. Number of dials, customers, brokers, owners. Total them up. Total sent emails. Number of contacts. Number of new customers. Number of appointments set. Okay? Right there alone, if I had a no engagement day, no showings, no sales, or 3 of those in a row, if I look at my logbook, I say, no problem, John. Look what I did this week. My next sale is coming. If all that did is provide that peace emotionally, it's worth keeping a logbook. Like my logbook as a pilot, you see that logbook down there. I keep it right here. This thing, I started flying in 1992. Okay, I can open up this logbook and I can look at it, and it has every flight. I mean, I've used up so many, I now have to put them on Excel spreadsheet. But I can look at my logbook, and every flight that I've taken since my first flight, 1990, whatever it was, is in here. I can look at this thing and read the notes. Oh, hydroplaned on the runway here. Oh, took my family here. Oh, the plane broke down there. I have all my life in here, and it does a couple things. It gives me professional pride, number one. Like all the energy and efforts and experiences are right here. Same thing for you. It shows your work. It shows you're closer to the sale. I think there's a visual and an emotional thing when you see the evidence of your labor. So you're crazy if you're not doing something like this. You're crazy if you're not reflecting on things like this. Remember, simple things are also what? Well, I should say it differently. Easy things are also easy not to do. This is one of those things, tracking our activities and tracking our lives. Not only does it give us metrics to make decisions down the road, it gives us a sense of accomplishment. Every Friday you had 10 questions, and I'll find it and I'll distribute it. And I did that for my psyche. It was 10 questions I asked at the end of the day on Friday before I went home for the weekend. And it basically asked questions that evolved around, am I closer to a sale than I was when I started the week? And if I filled this logbook out, I could answer the answer yes, I am. I know I didn't make a sale this week, and I know I wish I did, but let me look. Oh, yeah, I did everything I know I need to do. I'm closer. It made me sleep better. It made me feel better. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Move down to the next pie. We talked about prospecting. What is next? Admin. Oh, I got you on the wrong thing here. The next pie, if you look at our pie down below, we've already talked about prospecting for the future, 2 hours. This next box, creative branding administration. We know we got to do it. We know we got to sit in front of the computer. We know we got to do things, but do we commit to it? 2 hours every day. So we just talked about database organization. We just talked about database organization and clarity. Well, that takes time, data entry. What else would be part of this category? Video, blogs, newsletters. Like the more content you can put out, the better you are. Well, that takes time. Doesn't it take time to take your phone, go out, record, edit, upload? Well, we have just said 2 hours a day times 5, that's 10 hours a day at broadcasting and doing these type of things. It's easy to do, easy not to do. This reminds me that I've got to do it. Updating my digital presence, any kind of real estate update, site prep. Boy, that's another one. Remember at the beginning, we said our environment is our movie set. So if it's a Tuesday and I look at my chart and there's 2 hours of creative branding / administrative work, and I know that the site has got the lot markers have fallen over, that's my time to go out there and get my movie set ready. It's my time to go out there, put the stakes back up, tie the orange tape, right on the marker, lot number 45. So when I do have a live body to show the property, the site has been prepped. It takes time. It takes time to turn lights on. It takes time to flush the toilet, put the toilet seats down. It takes time to light the candles and make the smell nice. We have to account for it. We're busy. We've got to focus on time management. 2 hours, creative branding, administration. Again, we're talking to 3 different groups. One of the things that we always said, if we're going to ask our owners for their friends and family, we've got to provide value. Part of our 2 hour creative branding administration could be doing a newsletter from the desk of John Pinner. Let me give you a market report and some of the things that are happening in John's life. Believe it or not, people read that stuff. I'll tell you something about newsletters. You'll have more impact with a newsletter that is homemade from you than a corporate glossy trifold. That will come and get thrown in the mail. That will come and hit spam. From the desk of John, that's something simple. I don't even care how you made it. That makes you authentic, and that will get people reading it. So don't think all of these activities have to be done by some superstar high-end marketing company. Oftentimes, things that come from you that are authentic, even if the video's choppy or there's wind in it, yes, try to improve all that stuff. But things from the desk of you will get more engagement than a corporate communication ever will. Okay, so let's remind ourselves that. So if, like, for example, the corporate group has a team broker function, why doesn't the desk of John Pinner do, hey, let's meet at the coffee shop and John Pinter will actually give out a few coffee cards? I like to just say hi and update you on what's going on. Like, you can do things outside of the corporate entity. Remember we started with that Superman? You are the marketing company. You are the sales company. You are the CMO, the CFO, the chief operating officer of your company. You don't have to wait for corporate communication. Go do it. Yeah, I know brand standards have to be protected. You know, spelling and grammar have to be right. You're reflecting the builder. But more times than not, people just don't do it because they just don't do it. Not because of those barriers. So let's go do things. don't even know what this one is.
Yeah.
We don't need to do this. Okay. Number 2, high impact meetings. So I've got 2 hours prospecting, 2 hours branding, 2 hours high impact meeting. I mean, the greatest high impact meeting we could possibly ever hope for is engaging with the client to show property. That counts as part of our 2 hours. That eats up our day, doesn't it? Sometimes those 2 hours are 4 hours. Well, there's a price to pay with those other pie charts. Why do we have Kevin Bacon and Norm, who we've talked about? We talked about Norm. Norm walked in the bar at Cheers. Everybody said, Norm! It's everybody knows your name. Cheers was the bar where everyone knows your name. Somebody unmute your mic if you're still listening. Why do I have Kevin Bacon up on the screen? Somebody speak up.
6 degrees of separation.
Yes, thank you, Christine. That's exactly right. If you haven't been around, maybe it's not talked about a lot. 6 degrees of separation. They say in Hollywood, Kevin Bacon basically is attached to almost most of the movies in Hollywood through 6 degrees of separation. Like I worked with this actor who worked on that movie, and every movie that's out there in Hollywood, they used to say all of the people that acted in those movies had at least some role with Kevin Bacon. I don't know how that came up. They call it the Kevin Bacon game. Well, that's what I want you to have. So if you don't have a tour, what are some other ways to be face-to-face? Meaning there's nothing worse than sitting in a model home for 8 hours and not seeing a single human being. I get it. It happens. Rainy days, this, that. I can't leave. My boss won't let me leave because it's my day to tend the model home. I totally respect that. However, I don't want someone going through a 5-day work week that didn't have any walk-ins and not being face-to-face with somebody for 10 hours. That's what we got to be careful about. So I didn't get any walk-ins. What do you want me to do, John? I want you to walk around the neighborhood and meet owners, meet neighbors. Well, what else do you want me to do, John? I want you to go and meet influential, high-impact brokers in the marketplace. I want you to make a point to introduce yourself to those people that do business. What else can you do? I want you to go meet closing attorneys. I want you to go meet the builders. I want you to get out of digital-only worlds and meet people. Are you going to broker events? Are you going to home builder HBA events? I mean, you're a company. You want to make doctor income? You better be ready for doctor responsibility. It shocks me. Like public speaking is a great example. You know, no one likes to publicly speak. I remember my daughter out, like, I don't even know where it came from. She signed up for theater. And when she did the theater, I noticed, like cleaning her room one day, on her shower, on the glass, she came up with this. I didn't come up with this. She taped her lines so they faced inside, like while she was showering, she could see her lines to read her lines. Okay. That blew me away. No one likes public speaking. And my daughter turned out to not be great at theater. But you know what I told her? I said, the fact that you stood on stage and have the ability to present or say your lines in front of your peers and strangers, which by the way, sometimes your peers, public speaking in front of your peers is even harder than strangers. I said to her, I said, Maddie, you're light years ahead of the entire world, no matter what field you go into. Like the fact you can do that. And I can't believe how many people sign up for sales that don't want to stand up in front of a sales meeting and talk. We got to get over that, guys. If you're in sales, you have got to be Norm and Kevin Bacon. Everybody needs to know your name. If your boss, your sales manager, your builder, or your developer goes to an industry event and says, hey, I'm John Pinner. I own Tropical Farms. I've got a couple salespeople. Do you know anybody that works there? If they don't say your name and you're in an environment 10 miles away from your project, that's not right. High impact meetings mean ideally being with a sales customer, but absent of that, I got to get in front of somebody personally, like a human being. So I got to seek that out. I got to brand myself and brand my company's awareness by getting out of my seat and meeting people. So short of that, broker events, coffee meetups, broker drop-offs, all of these things, short of having a customer in your office or in your kitchen or in your model home or in your car, you have got to go find these engagements. And remember, we started the day, all of this should come with the purpose of your life depends on it. You have to go do these things. It's a different mindset, totally different mindset. Does everybody know your name more than your teammates? Do people call your cell first? Who do I want to know my name? And how will you commit to this? Okay. Next box, sharpening the axe. You're doing that right now. Sharpening the axe means learning and being better at something. Okay. That's what it is. When we started this day today, we said there's 2 ways of making more sales. First one, increase engagements, increase tours, increase showings. That was the first one. Second one was increase my closing percentage. If you don't think that what you do as a salesperson is a skill and an art, you're in the wrong business. If me and you were in a model home and we both had access to the same inventory, one of us is going to finish ahead of the others. That should tell you that this is a skilled profession. And none of us were born out of the womb with the sales process and the sales skill. It's the people we surround ourselves with, the books we read, and the commitments we make. That's what sales proficiency comes down to. And so if I don't commit to 1 hour a day, 5 hours a week, remember 5 days a week, 2 days off, good balance, work-life balance, then I am not sharpening my axe. So sharpening my axe doesn't just mean learning my sales lines or learning my sales processes. It might mean, hey, teammate, hey, Bob, let's go out and walk that new plan that we just got. I want to hear from you how you present it. I might pick up something and then I'll do it for you. That's role playing. That's a form of sharing. That's a form of sharpening my axe. Hey, we just got these 7 lots. We just got them online. I can look at the site map, the new site map that came with those 5 lots, or part of my hour of sharpening my axe can be I'm going to go and walk those 5 lots. I'm going to go look at them, see if my eyes see something. I'm going to be ready for when I get to those with a customer. That all goes down to sharpening my axe. So it's not just about book reading. It's not just about all that. It's about taking a part of your profession and mastering it by investing in it. Okay? That's what this is about. So we've got sharpening the axe. We've got high impact meetings, 2 hours a day. We've got branding and creative administration, 2 hours a day. Prospecting for future, 2 hours a day. I want you to look at this, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour. I want you to look at this 7 hours right there and look at a day that you have and know that your days will not be perfect like this. You may have somebody in front of you all day. Look at this as I now have a deficit in 2 hours of creative branding that cannot be neglected and have to be made up. That's the point of the perfect day. The perfect day is an outline that very rarely you're going to complete perfectly. But I want you to address what you didn't do with an, oh crap, I've got to make it up attitude. So if it's sharpening the axe, you got to make it up. If it's high impact meetings, you got to make it up. If you've been with people nonstop, you got to make up prospecting. Like there's a deficit that can't be swept under the carpet. That's the mindset that the perfect day brings. Okay. Recording, listening to your inner circle, protecting your inner circle. We don't talk about that very much. How many times in sales have we been around somebody that steals the energy out of the room? Run from them, people. Run from them. Protect your inner circle. Our brains are weird things, man. From everything about your potential to what could happen that day is around the people you surround you with. All of us probably have the top 5. Who are the top 5 people in your life that shaped who you are? Maybe it's your parents, maybe it's not. Maybe it was some sales manager you had, maybe it's not. But those are the people you want to surround yourselves with. And if you smell smoke coming from somebody, run, boy, run. There's nothing worse. So protect your inner circle, okay? And just realize you don't know it all. I don't know it all. Man, every day I learn from you guys. Every day I steal something from a competitor. Not steal. I mimic or take from something around me. That's what this is about, okay? All right, raise your standards. So we finished. So look, we're going to stop right here. I have a very comprehensive goal setting template, and I'm going to send it to you guys. And when you fill this out, I want you to think about it, because not only does it break it down to every single source and activity, but it sets some commitments, including some intangible reasons why you want to accomplish your goals. I want you to do this, and I want you to do this and share some of this with your peers or your family. And then also you can keep some of it private. But remember we talked about putting it in an envelope, putting it behind the glass. When you finish this, I want you to put this in a sealed envelope somewhere super visible to you. And I want you to commit to, at the end of the year, opening up that envelope and reading what you committed to yourself at the beginning of the year. I want you to be accountable to what you wrote down, but I also want you to find somebody in your life that will hold you accountable. Could be a peer, could be a teammate, could be your boss, whatever. Because when you get to that level, man, you're not going to believe what these little activities add up to do with your success. So the goal setting session is not, I want to sell 24 homes. It's, I want to have 120 tours, convert it 15%. I want to generate this many leads. I want to commit to going to this many HBA events. I want to commit to doing this and this and this. All those foundational elements, I guarantee you, will lead to your goals. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. That's strong for me to say, but I guarantee it. So again, let's focus on all this. I'll get the video of this out to you guys today. I'll get the slides of the goal setting session and the logbook out to you so that you guys can start doing that. And again, I didn't reference this, but up here was 2 hours of prospecting. Down here is your admin activities with some suggestions on a daily basis. Down here is your face-to-face appointments, 1 hour motivation. Oh, 1 hour centering. We already know we're going to go to Facebook. We're going to look at, we're going to call our friends. We're going to talk about the sports game. So we already know 1 hour of just doing our own thing, lunch, whatever, get up, walk around. We already know that. And that's important too. But these are your activities. So I'll send you this logbook. And again, if you see something that needs to be adjusted that's in more keeping with your environment, that's no problem. Make the adjustment. But keep this up. I'm not going to trick you and ask for this 3 weeks from now. That's just for you. These are just for you. I would suggest get a binder and let these pieces of paper start to stack up in your binder and look back at them with professional pride, because you are a 1%er if you're doing these things. You're a 1%er, okay? That's all I got. Thank you guys for all this. Now it's time to execute, and now it's time for me, your sales manager, your builder, your developer, to start digging into these things on a granular level to make these changes, to make these differences. But this year can be a really good one for all of us. And I think that you all believe that. So that's all. That's all I got. Make it a great day. I will talk to you all individually later. And that's it. See ya.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Yep.
John.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.